Well, hello everybody. How's everybody doing today? I am very excited to be here to tell you guys a story. I brought one of my favorite stories to tell. This story is about a small little animal, small and green, and he hops. Does anybody know what could that animal be? Did somebody say frog? Can anybody make a frog sound? Ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. Alrighty, once upon a time, not so long ago, there was a frog. But this frog was a special frog, not like other frogs, because this frog had a big mouth. Has anybody ever told you that you have a big mouth? Yeah, right here. So this was a special frog because it had a really, really big mouth. And this frog knew that he had a big mouth, and, he was kind of proud of that. And he liked to go around showing off his big mouth. Look at me, I got a big mouth. And do you know what he used his big mouth for? Do you know what he would do? He should have just told stories. Yeah, that would have been the right thing. But he went around because he was also very hungry all the time. Do you know what? What do frogs eat? Ice cream? Roast beef? No? Yes? Oh, flies? Did you say flies? You're absolutely correct. Flies. So this frog would go around going, because it had a long, sticky tongue. So now this frog lived out in Belmont at the Audubon Center called Habitat, and he went around showing off his big mouth to everybody there. And pretty soon all the animals got really tired of hearing about that frog with his big mouth. Oh. And after a while he realized that he had told all of the animals there at Habitat about his big mouth. And he started to think that he wanted to go somewhere else where there were other animals so he could show off his big mouth to those other animals. So one day he hopped his way down to Belmont Center and he got on the commuter rail. And he rode that train all the way to North Station. And he got off at North Station, and there he got on the orange line on the subway. Sorry, we'll have to wait a little bit. We got some delays here. Attention passengers. Delays. So there he was on the orange line for a little while, but eventually he got off at Forest Hills, and he got on the 16 bus, and he traveled along up through Franklin Park until he got to the zoo. Oh, he was so excited. This is where he'd been trying to go. He wanted to go to the zoo to show off his big mouth to all the animals there. Well, so he looked around to see who could he show off to first. And he looked around and he saw there was a really tall animal with a long, tall neck. Who could that be? Who's a tall? Did someone say giraffe? You're right. He found the giraffe and he went up to the giraffe and he said, hey there. What do you eat? He was very interested in food. And the giraffe kind of looked down and said, well, I am a giraffe. And I eat leaves off of... yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'm a big mouth frog. You see my big mouth? I eat flies. And the giraffe said, well, that's very nice. I'm pleased to meet you. Yeah, goodbye. Well, he was off. He wanted to find more animals. Well, then he went and he found another animal. This was a really big animal with a big trunk. Oh, did you say elephant? Yes, you're absolutely correct. It was an elephant. And so the big mouth frog went up to the elephant and he said, hey there, look at me, what do you eat? And the elephant said, well, I am an elephant by trade, and I eat peanuts out of this bucket that the nice people bring. That's like I'm a big mouth frog. I eat flies. And the elephant said, well, that's very interesting. It's very nice to meet you, I think. Well, the frog went along all day through the Franklin Park Zoo, bothering all the animals, showing off his big mouth. And finally, he came to an animal that he had never seen before. She was resting. She was taking her midday nap. She was very green like he was, but she was a bit bigger than the big mouth frog. She had stretched out her long body by the water, and she had kind of wiggled her tail around and had it half in the water and half out because she liked to be near the water. And she rested her long, long, sharp jaws that went clack, clack. What kind of animal do you think she was? Clack, clack, clack. Yeah, we're going to go with alligator. Yeah, that was an alligator. Well, the big mouth frog had never seen an alligator, but he thought, oh boy, I'm very excited to show off my big mouth. Well, the big mouth frog went up to that alligator and said, "Hey there! Who are you? What do you eat?" And the alligator turned and looked down at the big mouth frog and said, "Why, I am an alligator, and I eat big-mouthed frogs. Have you seen any big-mouthed frogs around? For you see, I am very hungry." And the big-mouthed frog looked at that alligator, and he looked at her long, sharp teeth, and he said, "No, I have not seen any big-mouthed frogs at all. You see, I am a small-mouthed frog. Do you see my small mouth? I'm a small frog. So I'm very sorry. I can't help you. I have to go now." And with that, the formerly big-mouthed frog, who was now a little-mouthed frog, the small mouth, hopped away as fast as he could go. He got back on the 16 bus, and it went back through Franklin Park, and he got back on the Orange Line going away from Forest Hills until he got to North Station, and then from there he got back on the train, and I can tell you he went all the way to Belmont. He went back to Habitat, and he's been very quiet ever since. And that is the story of how the big-mouthed frog became the small-mouthed frog. And that is the end of my story.